This video describes the panel interface of the next-generation clustered heat map or NG-CHM viewer. If you're not already familiar with the goals and overall functionality of the NG-CHM system, we recommend watching an introductory video first. There's a link out to a brief one in the description and also at the top right of this video. The goal of the panel interface is to enable a wide variety of analytical tools to be used in conjunction with the NG-CHM viewer to explore and analyze the data represented by the NG-CHM. In this video, we'll see briefly how two such tools, a ScatterPlot tool and a Pathway tool, can be used in conjunction with the NG-CHM viewer. The panel interface was released in version 2.18 of the viewer. Similarly to earlier versions of the viewer, an NG-CHM's initial layout consists of a summary panel on the left and a detail panel on the right. Separating the panels is a divider that can be grabbed and moved to adjust their relative proportions. The principal difference from earlier versions of the NG-CHM viewer is that there is a header at the top of each panel. At the left of each header is the panel's title. At the right is the panel's menu icon. In the Detail panel, to the right of the title, there is a group of buttons for zooming and changing the detail view's display mode. In previous versions of the interface, these buttons were located in the top header to the left of the search box. Just the location of these buttons has changed. Their behavior has not. Clicking on the menu icon in the header displays the panel menu. The top part of the menu contains entries for changing the content displayed in the panel. We'll come back to these later. The bottom part of the menu contains entries for manipulating the panels. The Split Vertically option adds a new, empty panel beneath the original one. The original vertical space is divided approximately equally between the two new panels. There is a horizontal separator between the two panels that can be moved to adjust this division. Either panel can be further subdivided. The resulting three panels are all direct children of the vertical column. The behavior of these panels does not depend on the order in which they were created. Similarly, the Split Horizontally option adds a new, empty panel to the right of the original one. The original horizontal space is divided approximately equally between the two new panels. The Collapse option hides the content of the panel and makes it as small as possible. The space thus made available is allocated to an adjacent panel. Dragging the separator next to a collapsed panel adjusts the space allocated to the closest uncollapsed panels on either side of the separator. Note that collapsed panels cannot be split. Expanding a collapsed panel redisplays its content and increases its size by a small amount. You can use an adjacent divider bar to adjust the panel to the desired size. Finally, you can close a panel. The space allocated to it will be allocated to an adjacent panel. Returning now to the panel menu, the top portion of the menu contains entries for setting the content displayed in the panel. The Summary Heatmap option displays the summary view in the panel. If the summary view is displayed in another panel, it will first be removed from there, leaving it empty. That is, the summary heatmap can be displayed in at most one panel at any time. Similarly, the Detail Heatmap option displays the detail view in the panel. It too can only be displayed in at most one panel at any time. The Linkouts option will cause subsequent linkouts to be displayed in the panel where possible. Some linkouts instruct the browser not to display them in a panel, and these instructions cannot be overridden. Such linkouts will be displayed in a new window just as if there is no linkouts panel. If a second or additional linkout panel is created, subsequent linkouts will be displayed in the most recent one. Any old linkout panels therefore become read-only. The ScatterPlot option refers to a separate tool that interoperates with the NG-CHM viewer. The ScatterPlot tool can be used to display scatter plots of data from the NG-CHM. When a scatter plot is opened, a gear icon is added to the panel header and a gear dialog is displayed. The specific contents of the gear dialog depend on the tool. In this case, it contains a variety of options for specifying the data to plot. Briefly, these include which axis to use as points in the plot, which values to use for each point's coordinates, how to color each point, and the colors to use for the background, labels, lassoed points, and selected points. These options are described in more detail in additional videos. Clicking Apply creates the plot. If the gear dialog is closed, it can be reopened by clicking on the gear icon. The scatter plot opens in zoom and drag mode, which allows you to zoom and/or drag the points. Clicking on the lasso icon switches to lasso mode. You can also use the S key to toggle between these modes. In lasso mode, you can drag a lasso around points in the scatter plot to select them. The selected points will be displayed in the NG-CHM's summary panel, if it's visible. They will also be displayed in the detail panel if it's visible, and the point or points are visible in the current view. Note that any prior selection will be replaced. Hovering over a point in either mode will temporarily display the points label in the scatter plot. It will also highlight the corresponding point in the NG-CHM. Another plugin tool available by default is PathwayMapper. Once a pathway has been loaded into the tool, the gear dialog can be used to specify how entries in the pathway should be colored. The details are described in another tutorial video. Clicking Apply obtains any data in the NG-CHM that matches the nodes in the pathway, applies the selected test or computation, and adds the results to the pathway display. The ScatterPlot and PathwayMapper plugin tools are included with the NG-CHM viewer by default. The site administrator can remove or augment the available tools. This video's description on YouTube contains links to additional tutorial videos for the ScatterPlot and PathwayMapper tools. A tutorial video that describes in detail the various options and inputs that can be displayed in the gear dialog is also available. To facilitate the development of additional tools, the API used by the NG-CHM viewer to interoperate with the ScatterPlot and PathwayMapper tools is documented and easy to use. Please contact us if you have ideas for additional tools that could be made available by default.